Hi Sagittarius, here's a general look at your solar chart for June 2012, and every year at this time the Sun comes into Gemini, which is your opposite sign, so there's going to be more activity with opposite numbers, so it's going to be triggering the area of close relationships, as it does every year at this time. But this year there is far more emphasis because we've got your ruling planet coming in there on the 12th, we've got Venus in there until August, and there's also going to be a lunar eclipse in that area, so there's quite a lot stimulating that area there, and can give love relationships a tremendous boost, whether they're romantic ones or to do with family, friends and the like, but also it can mean that you've got ongoing one-to-one negotiations going on, or just whatever it is, you know, an alliance of some kind, or maybe it's just a fleeting thing, but they're usually quite close relationships in your opposite sign, whether they are very short-term or long-term ones. And you could be bouncing ideas, you know, there's an awful lot of mental activity as well, especially in the first week, so you could be bouncing ideas off somebody else. You could be interested in their slant on things. You could be sharing an interest with another. You could have to be a kind of go-between or an agent between one person and another. So cooperative alliances, ideally, are very much a theme here, and it's all being softened and buffered by the presence of Venus, you see, who's also in your opposite sign, and that means close relationships are well starred, so teaming up with someone could be well starred and could actually be lucrative as well, depending on who you're snuggling up with, but you're either earning through them or because of their input with you, you know, giving you a bit of luck maybe. You and someone could really hit it off, you and someone could really find that you can do business together, and as I said earlier, this is a tremendous vibe for love relationships, and maybe some of you are taking on more commitment in a love relationship. It could very well be that way, with so much emphasis in your partnership area. Negotiations, one-to-one work, that kind of thing, they could go well, and perhaps getting in a little deeper with someone materially, that could also be the case, and it always depends on your natal chart. But here in the relationship sector, whether that's in a personal way or in a professional way, you can very much use a law of attraction to get what you want, and it's potentially a very good time for finding common ground, perhaps compromising. We always have to do really in relationships, and particularly because Venus is going retrograde until the 27th actually, so maybe things will go a little bit slower. You've got to work a little bit harder, be a little bit more patient until Venus turns around and goes direct from the 27th onward. And actually the last 2 days of the month and the first 2 days of July are a really, really good time there in the relationship sector, so you know, opportunity could come knocking at your door, or maybe that's the time for you to knock on somebody else's door or get yourself a good deal in some way. Now, as I said, your ruling planet Jupiter enters this area on the 12th to stay for 12 months, and so it's a very slow, long transit, but it will tend to expand you into new areas through close relationships, personal, professional, through one-to-one type scenarios in work. Definitely will trigger a learning curve, though, through those people that you are face to face with, even if it's over the wires in some way, and it could involve you more with those at a distance, foreign lands, or those with a very different take on things, and very, very different backgrounds to your own. And because it's the close relationship area, it tends to be like there's more of a vibe around the duo, whether it's, you know, one long-term person that I'm talking about here but I don't know, or whether it's a series. It could be either, but they tend not to be, it tends not to be large groups of people, but it can be a small number of people in like a little circle of people as well, that this area is being lit up with by the benevolent influence by Jupiter. So again, it's always down to us to play our cards right and to respond to the planetary influences, which are like winds, really. That's the best way I can describe it. Winds which you can't see, but you see in the way things are kind of stacking up around you and the way the wind's blowing, or the writing on the wall. Now, Mercury is also in that sector there, just for the first week. So again, lots of chit-chat going on between you and others, very likely, personal, professional, bouncing ideas, as I said before, you feeling a mental rapport, hopefully, and really getting on well, perhaps, with somebody else's opinion. But even if you don't, you may disagree, but it helps you to clarify your own opinion. And you yourself at this time, you could be some kind of go-between person, or you could be seen as an information giver, a guide, an advice-giving person yourself, or indeed you could be seeking that from somebody who you don't know at all personally, but you are in talks, as it were, with them for whatever the reason, whether it's therapeutic or whether it's materialistic, commercial. And then from the 7th to the 26th, discussions and ideas may become more involved. Your feelings are nearer the surface there. There's more riding on something there. Your thinking has to weigh things up. It's intuitive, your thinking then. It should be, because actually you could sense more than think your way to a solution on something, or to the answer, whether it's a solution or not. And it just might include the financial aspects of things, the property aspects of things, possessions, but you're not completely able to just take the whole, to make the decisions yourself. You don't have the complete control, and you feel a little bit like you've got to bear in mind and factor in, the needs and or rules of others. You and someone could, though, be hit, as I said earlier, you've still got all the other energies going on there, so hitting it off and actually pooling. But again, you have to compromise, don't you, if you pool your resources, whether that's knowledge or whether it's actual material resources like money. And you will do well, again, if you keep the balance, find the common ground and keep the balance. So you and someone could be getting really interested in something together. You could feel quite passionate about certain things together, or you could be feeling quite passionate about each other as well. That's another way it could work, very much so. Or another way it can work is that somebody's words really push your buttons, and that's the flip side of it. So just trust your gut and then try to avoid knee-jerk reactions which have you slipping down that same old hole in the road. And anything you share with or have a joint interest in with another is going to be favourably highlighted, particularly towards the end of the month. Now, it's a great time for mapping out a game plan. It's quietly plotting and planning for the future, and really getting under the skin, digging and delving and getting to the bottom line on something. So that's a favourable time for that. Now, I mentioned the eclipse. There's going to be an eclipse on the 4th. That heralds new beginnings in those areas, all those areas that I've mentioned earlier, to do with your close relationship sector. So if you need to make improvements or changes for the better, then on the 4th, or the day before, just take one step in that direction. It's best to be doing it on the day itself. Just do one thing, and then that will kind of set a tone or set a precedent for things to start sort of snowballing in the right direction over the months to come. Well, that's the idea anyway. From the 26th until the end of the month, and actually into July, Mercury is then in a much more expansive sector of your solar chart, and it's making you think more upbeat. You're thinking about perhaps some of you travel. Saggies are often thinking about, the grass is greener on the other side anyway. So could be connecting with those at a distance or in a foreign land. You could be gathering information, pulling information in from all over. A good time to be doing that, actually. And as I said, more upbeat about things, more enthusiastic about things than from the 26th. Mentally enthusiastic, although the relationship sector doesn't look too bad at all. So good moment to beat the drum on something, let others know you're there, or whatever it is, and having perhaps more contact with teachers, advisors, guides, and those can be discarded ones as well, but also others seeing you more as somebody who has the knowledge, who has the teaching, who has the guidance also. And some of you might be dealing with the legal side of things, or might be looking into the legalities of this, that, or the other, and what the rules and regs are there from the 26th onwards. So it's a very good time for you anyway to be gathering all that sort of information, lots of left brain activity there, and to plunge into unfamiliar environments, whether that's physically or mentally or both. Might be just what the doctor ordered for you, Sagittarius. Now, Mars is in its last month of this very, very long transit. Started in November and it will be finishing in the first week of July. It's been going across the top of your solar chart, which is to do with your general direction in life, Sagittarius, but also perhaps your professional aims and ambitions. So this has been a time for you to be more aware of all of that stuff and to be more a self-starter, more dynamic, proactive, bite the bullet, get on with it regarding your targets in life, whether those are short-term ones or longer-term goals and general direction in life. This would have been a period, and it still is, for you to get clarity, to get on with it, to take a decision, because at least if you take a decision and go there, you know whether that's right or not. And anyway, all decisions are only ever a step on the road. Just mention, though, to say that Mars can be very short on patience and doesn't think things through, so just try not to be hasty when you take these decisions. Sleep on it first. So you may be putting physical effort into, and may have been over these months, and sometimes perhaps overstretching yourself, because this is something that can happen with Mars. And but to get yourself somewhere which is nearer to that rosy future, or that greener field on the other side than you were before the transit started. And overall, this transit of Mars could give you a step up the ladder, or rather, it doesn't really give it to you. It demands that you work for it. That's the thing about Mars. In standing, status, where you present yourself, image, as long as you are decisive, energetic, competent, you see. Mars will help you do well, but despite his tendency to be controversial. Also, the area that Mars is in is to do with parents, both parents, but particularly the mother parent. And so there may have been a lot more emphasis on the mother parent for some of you, since last November. And of course, parents know how to push our buttons. So sometimes you'll have gotten this conflicting energy of Mars, feeling hot under the collar, but also perhaps working extra hard because of a parent. So and also it's about authority figures, this area, people in position of power. So you may have had to deal with officials. You may have had to dealt a bit more with those sorts of people, and related to targets, or maybe teachers as well. Just authority figures, and sometimes feeling rather frustrated. But if you've managed to navigate your way through there and kept your cool, and keep your cool, in fact, not be too hasty or engage mouth before brain, then you will have and will continue to make progress with the master plan, but also with lesser goals and ambitions. And you Saggies born from the 5th of December or with 13 degrees of Saggy rising until the end of the sign will be feeling the energy most over June and early July. Just a quick mention of Neptune, just fit this in here. Neptune may be bringing confusion into the roots of your life or around parents, and this would be the father energy more, but either parent, but it emphasizes the father line actually a little bit more. And it can be that you don't know how somebody is. It can be to do with your roots in some way, which is like your property or your space, wherever you are. It can feel that you're a bit hemmed in, or you idealize this lovely place which is like a retreat or an escape, or just where you can hang out, like a magical sanctuary, and maybe you want to do this for others as well. But there's always with Neptune, there can be you can be too idealistic, you can be too sort of woo-woo, and not realistic enough. So just be aware of that. Also, Neptune does like to play the martyr, so there can also be this feeling of sacrifice because of somebody very close in your private life, or to around property, around where you're anchored, or it just can be a feeling of uncertainty maybe inside, and you're not quite sure where or with who you truly belong. So I just thought I'd mention that, because you early Saggies can be feeling that energy, but it's actually could be felt throughout the whole of the sign, but not as strongly. And then from the 21st, a partnership or professional relationship could demand a little bit more sensitivity. You have sometimes a tendency to hit people over the head with the truth, but you always mean well, mostly. And so having to tread a little bit more carefully from the 21st. Well, that's it for June. Now, here I've been speaking about the faster moving inner planets, but you've got to match this up with the slower moving outer planets. So go to my website if you're not there already, and then you can read that, and then you can put the two together and integrate it in whatever way makes sense to you. Also, with the rising sign and the moon sign, if you know them, find the forecast for those, because again, there might be some strands of information in there that you can use, and the rest of it you can just chuck away. And I will see you the next time.